Hello, and welcome back to Paper Pages and Possibilities. My name is Christina. I am very happy to have you here today. Appreciate you choosing to click on this video and check it out. Today, we are going to do the rapid fire book tag. And the question is, can I do that book tag in 3 minutes? So, can I do this book tag in 3 minutes? Well, the answer is no. I will say that I did try. I tried to do this as a YouTube short, going through all the questions. I tried to answer all of the questions within the 3-minute window that you have for YouTube short, and I got through like number 20 out of 24. So I got close, but did not get it in 3 minutes. So I thought that would be cool for a rapid fire book tag. Anyhow, I was tagged in this by Kevin at Kevin Told Reads. So big thank you to Kevin. I enjoy these questions and looking forward to answering them. So I will jump right into it. So a total of 24 questions. The first one is ebook or physical book. I have to go with physical book. I discovered that I really need to have the physical book. It's all about flipping the pages, being able to like put my finger in and close it as I'm like trying to think about what I've just read. It's the physical. The ebooks that I read, like the only ebooks that I read are ARCs that I'm interested in enough to read them as an ebook. But in the long run, I would prefer even ARCs to be physical books. Number 2, paperback or hardback. I am a paperback, specifically trade paperback girly. I like the larger size. The mass market paperback I'm not so keen on because it is hard to get it open and like hold it open as you're reading, whereas with the trade paperback it does tend to hold itself open much more easily, and I like the sizing better, like just the way it feels in the hand. So trade paperback is my favorite. Number 3, online or in-store book shopping. Hands down, gotta be in-store book shopping. There's nothing like perusing books and just being in that atmosphere, being around books, being around other people who are looking at books. Like it's a whole experience, not just having a book in my head and picking it out. Granted, I do that, but more often than not, I would much rather go to a bookstore and pick out a book leisurely. And also, there's a lot to be said for used bookstores. It's those in particular, I feel like they're like a treasure hunt. And that is something that you can't really replicate online. All right, number 4, trilogies or series. I'm going to go with trilogies because I prefer not to stay in a world very long. I think any particular world in general. I find those series that I have read that are much longer than a trilogy, I find myself by like the 3rd book ready to go to something different. Like with the Harry Potter series, I only got through book 4. There's several series that I've only gotten through like the first couple, and that's it. So I would say trilogies is a good, you have a bit of story and a good closure. Number 5, heroes or villains. I'm definitely for heroes. I like a happy ending. I like good versus evil and good wins. Simple as that. Number 6, a book you want everyone to read. I had a very hard time trying to figure this one out. I don't know that there's any one particular book that I think everyone would enjoy or benefit from or get a lot of meaning out of. However, I did actually think of one. It's a nonfiction book, and I think it's something that everybody could get something out of, and something I'm actually planning to reread here in the next month or two. And that is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Really recommend this. This is like really good, especially if you're a procrastinator or you feel like you don't get enough done in a day. This has a lot of really good information on how to create that habit, how to make it stick, and how to build on it. When I do reread this, I will actually do a review on it that actually captures the points. So kind of a synopsis, I guess, kind of giving you all of the points of the book itself. So you can decide if it's something that you would like to read. If not, you'll get at least the benefit of the main arguments and ideas. So that's definitely a book I would recommend everybody would read it. I think everybody would get something from it to help improve their life. All right, so number 7 is recommend an underrated book. I had a very hard time figuring out anything that was particularly underrated. So I went with a book that I don't really see a lot of talk about, or an author I haven't heard a lot about any of her works recently, probably because she hasn't published anything recently, but I don't want her to lose visibility because I am absolutely obsessed with her work. But the particular book is called The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, the author of the Broken Earth series as well. I would highly recommend this. I think this one stands alone, but there is a second and possibly a third book in this series. It is about New York City, and specifically New York City becoming a sentient being, so to speak. And the way that this comes about is there are 5 people who suddenly kind of have an awakening, and each person is representative of one of the 5 boroughs of New York City, and they are on a mission to come together and protect the city from an outside force. So really good. I will probably do a review on this sometime in the near future. I've read it, I loved it, so I'm gonna gush about it. But just for now, I'll put this on the list as an underrated book. Number 8, last book I finished. This one was an arc. It is called The Black Orb by, I think it's Ewan Kim. I finished that. It was very fast read, or more like I was really sucked into it and couldn't put it down. So I read that within like 2 days. I will share more of my thoughts on that in a review video upcoming. And that book is actually being published in the next couple of days. So I will probably try and get a video review about that out maybe later this week. Let's see here. Last book I bought. So I did do a little bit of a shopping trip yesterday at what's become my favorite used bookstore, and I found this. This one is See You Later by Christopher Pike. This is going to be an addition to my nostalgic books because Christopher Pike is someone that I read a lot of as a teenager, and I'm in the process of recollecting all of his works. It's going to be slow because it's been very hard to find, but I found one, and I will eventually, hopefully, get the rest. Yeah, Christopher Pike. Weirdest thing you have used as a Bookmark, and that's number 10. I would say, I mean, I use lots of slips of paper, like tickets. I have at one point used a tissue. It was not used, but I used a tissue, like folded it in half and slid it right in. It was all I could find at the time. So I guess I could call that the strangest thing I've used as a bookmark. Number 11, used books, yes or no? Absolutely yes. Love used books, love finding used books. Going back to that treasure hunt feeling, there's nothing like that. Number 12, top 3 favorite genres. I would say sci-fi, fantasy, and I consider it slightly different, but it's close to sci-fi, but speculative fiction. I'm finding that's really where my biggest interest is. So sci-fi, fantasy, speculative fiction. Number 13, borrow or buy. I'm on the fence on this one. Some books I'm good with borrowing, others I would rather buy. I tend to do more buying than borrowing these days, but I have been thinking about getting back to my public library a little bit more often. Either way, I do both and recommend both. Number 14, character or plots. This is really hard for me because I tried to think about it. I don't think I would enjoy a book that was purely character driven, and I don't think I would enjoy a book that was purely plot driven. I think it has to be a combination, honestly, to really be a good book. But if I had to, for whatever reason, choose one over the other, I would probably, I don't know. I want to say character, but plot, there's so much, especially in science fiction, I feel like plot is very key. So, number 15, long or short books? I'm going to say long books. What I've started to discover and started to feel is that it takes a longer book to really fully flesh out something that's like sci-fi or fantasy, like build the world. And I think it can be done in a short book, but it's much harder to accomplish. And you just get so much more in a longer book, more immersive. In my mind, that's my overall impression. Number 16, long or short chapters. If I had to pick one, long or short, I would prefer short, but truly I like kind of in the middle. The only thing I don't like is long chapters. There was one book I read this past year where each chapter was like a quarter of the book, and that was just way too much for me. That felt like a challenge. But I like shorter chapters. I feel like it makes the pacing a bit faster and more engaging, so I'll go with short chapters. 17, name the first 3 books you can think of. The Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice, Contact by Carl Sagan, and Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Just popped into my head. Number 18, books that made you laugh or cry. I picked one that made me laugh, and that is On Dublin Street by Samantha Young. Read this one last year. I did a lot of laughing throughout this book because of the banter between the male and the female main characters. That really drove this book. I had such a good time reading it. I did laugh out loud several times during the reading. And yeah, number 19, Our World or Fictional Worlds. This is hard, but I'm going to say Our World, with the caveat that unusual things are happening. I like stories that are set in the real world, but things start happening that seem unreal, and just reading how people interact with that, how they react, how they proceed after some sort of earth-shattering event has happened. That's the kind of book that I really enjoy. Number 20, audiobooks, yes or no? I have tried with audiobooks. I find they are not for me. The challenge I have is I can't just sit and listen. I have to be doing something else, and I find oftentimes when I'm doing something else, I get so wrapped up in the other thing I'm doing that I forget what I've been listening to, so I'm missing out on the story. So for that reason, I think audiobooks are not the format for me. Number 21. Do you ever judge a book by its cover? Absolutely yes. I've no shame in that. Like it's part of, when you're browsing in a bookstore, it's the cover that catches your eye first thing, whether it be the title or the cover image. It's that kind of draws you, pulls you from other books and toward it. So yeah, I definitely do. Number 22, book to movie or book to TV adaptation? I am going to say book to movie because I prefer to have my story like start and finish very neatly in a not very long period of time, so span of 2 to 3 hours. I don't like drawing it out over the course of a series, mostly because I don't watch TV in general, and I do watch movies, that not very often, but I am more likely to watch a movie than I am a TV show. Number 23, a TV or movie adaptation you preferred more than the book. I've been puzzling over this one. I'm going to say Stephen King's The Mist. I really enjoyed the short story, but I also really loved The Mist, the movie. And also, another one of Stephen King's short stories is that I loved the movie for is The Langoliers. And that's another one in, I want to say it's 4 Past Midnight. It's a like 4-story collection. So both of those, I really liked the story and felt that they did a good job in portraying it, and the images fit with my imagination of when I read the book. Last question, 24, standalones or series? I would probably go for standalones over series based on kind of how I talked earlier about trilogy versus series, because I don't like something that's just like continuous and never ending. In a lot of cases, sometimes some series feel like they're never ending. I like some good closure. I like a story to wrap up and feel like I can move on to something else. So definitely prefer standalones over series. So that is the rapid fire book tag. Thank you, Kevin, for tagging me. It was over a month ago, but I finally got it done. And I will tag a couple of people down in the description for doing this tag. I've just got to do some research to see who's done it, who hasn't, and I will tag them down below. Well, that is it for today. Thank you so much for sticking through it if you made it all the way to the end. I would love to hear your thoughts on any of these questions. Do you agree with what I said or disagree? Love to hear either way, and love to have you join my bookish community by hitting subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Until then, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.